Okay, I think maybe let's just begin today's session. Yeah, so thanks for the students who joined us today. We have Dr. JJ as well as Sarah, who's a current year 4 student with us at DID today to answer some of your questions. So today's group is a little bit more cozy. So please, if you're comfortable, you may turn on your cameras or unmute yourself just to ask any questions directly to JJ and Sarah. So perhaps for today's session, we can start off with a short introduction from both JJ as well as Sarah. And then, yeah, maybe later JJ can just bring us on a virtual tour of what
Mm,
is happening at the open day event at SDE today. So
sure.
yeah, JJ, could you maybe just introduce yourself and kind of what you do at ID, DID?
Okay, sure, yeah, sure. Yeah, very nice to meet you. Can you hear me okay? Because I'm in the open environment behind my mouse. I'm gonna move to a quieter place later. Yeah, I'm JJ. I'm an assistant professor and also deputy head of research in the Division of Industrial Design. I have been here for about 7 years, and I am teaching human-centered design, experience design, service design. The service as new design object. So how we can create new services that are beneficial for people. So that's my teaching areas. Um, yeah, so if you also have some questions about like experience design, UI, UX design, service design, I'm very happy. And also social innovation design, I'm very happy to address those questions. Thanks for joining today.
Yeah, Sarah, do you want to have a short introduction as well?
Yeah, okay, sure. Yeah, so I'm Sarah. I'm actually currently a year 4 industrial design student, yeah, in my final year. So I'm some background is that actually I'm actually doing my final year design thesis with JJ as well. So she's my final year professor. Yeah, so in design we actually have the final year design projects where we actually work on a 1 year long project, individual project. Yeah. So some background behind really what I do. I'm specializing more in business and service design, like experience design, kind of like design for innovation in like business impact. Yeah. And I'm also from NOC from NUS Overseas College Silicon Valley previously. So if you have any interest in that area, you can ask me as well. Yeah.
Yeah, Sarah, do you want to give just a very brief I don't know, one liner of what you're doing with thesis with
Oh
JJ
yeah, okay,
at the
sure.
moment?
So basically for us in industrial design, we have different projects in, for instance, from the second year onwards, we have our platform projects where we actually work with our professors. And then in our final year, we actually get to do a final year project that is 1 year long where we get to actually choose any topic that we want of our interest. Yep. So for me, I'm actually very interested in design and technology. So in terms of understanding like the synergy between design and technology. So I'm actually working on a final year project about human-centered artificial intelligence, which is basically how we can, as designers, work with artificial intelligence and design for more ethical and responsible AI products. And we can, my collaborator right now is also with AI Singapore. Yeah.
Yeah, thanks for that.
Thank
So
you.
maybe for the students, you can have a sense,
Yeah.
right, of what kind of questions you can ask Sarah and JJ. But maybe just to kick off the session, I could just ask I guess a more general question about if I could get JJ or Sarah to kind of elaborate on what really is service design about. Yeah, and how does that fit in the whole sphere of design, right, and industrial design?
Yes, when we talk about industrial design, the people might easily think of designing this or designing this chair or design some tangible physical objects or design machines. Yes, that's true. But nowadays, what to be designed became really, really broad. Basically, design is not just the crafting to make something physical, but it's basically the problem solving process and the problem solving logic. So design is used to deal with complex social problems, complex business problems of the company, and also public services, and so on and so on. So uh, service design is a recent emerging design area that focuses on designing for services, not tangible objects. Services such as banking services, healthcare services, your airport services, or services like your Grab, restaurant services, any kind of services. Those need to be also designed so that the users and customers can have pleasurable experiences when they use those services, right? So there are a lot of design considerations like mobile applications and process of ordering, getting feedback, and having the service the receipt. So entire process needs to be designed and all those touch points. You go to the airport chair and the waiting process, tickets, or your interaction with the airport staff there, and all those websites. Those things are what to be designed. So service design looks at all those process and the interaction points as design objects. So it's very, very holistic, systematic design area. And this has been also key strategic area for many, many companies. So many companies like BDS nowadays, and all those healthcare companies and the finance companies and organizations, they want to improve their services, right? So they're having really, really rapid increasing demand on service designers in those big organizations and startups as well. So it's a new design area that is closely working with business and organization.
Yeah, thanks for that elaboration, JJ. Sarah, did you want to add something to that?
Oh yeah. Okay, yeah, maybe I can add some additional points. Yeah, because I think in industrial design, like most people when they first enter our course, they'll think it's very like product design. But I think right now we also in industrial design, we also focus on like for instance, the different aspects of design, like digital design, experience design, also like in terms of experience for services and touch points in the user journey. So for instance, like in service design, we actually work with like clients and collaborators in our projects like Singapore Airlines, Samsung Electronics, and Johnson Controls. So those are some of like the clients that we can work with in our platform projects. So we actually help to design in terms of like customer transformation, like experience. How can we improve their experience of their product, like their service? Like one of the projects I did with Singapore Airlines previously was how to reimagine the Singapore Airlines like premium experience. So actually we got to go down to the Singapore Airlines like premium lounge when we actually help to design like the service design of the project. So like how using design we can actually improve the experience and how to create the journey more efficient as well as like experiential. Yeah. So those are some of the different projects we get to work on. We actually get to work on with a lot of client projects and also in terms of exploratory projects as well. There's a huge range of projects that we get to work on within our kind of like our first few years in industrial design.
Yeah, I guess on a related note to Sarah, what you had just talked about, there's a question in from Yulia about the projects, like the platform project, right? How much work is done in class and how much is done outside of class? And would you say projects are mostly collaborative or individual?
Yeah, so basically to break it down, so in our first year we actually have design fundamentals. So what we usually do is we work on, for instance, like the design thinking approaches, like building the foundations. We also do like product design and for instance like building products and workshops. So that is more of like the initial foundation in our first year. Then from the second year onwards, we actually have we have our platform projects. So that's from year 2 and year 3 to year 4. Yeah. So in those projects, sometimes we have clients and sometimes we have like our own projects. So each of them are typed with a single professor. Yeah. So for those projects, we actually get to choose from individual projects or collaborators. So some projects will be in groups of like 2 to 4, and then other projects it will be individual as well. Yeah. So I would say most of the projects is for instance is actually a 4-hour session for each platform. So we actually have 2 platforms that we take each semester. So one will be on like for instance Monday, one will be on Thursday, and it'll be 4 hours each. So that's where there'll be like the consultation sessions with the prof and for instance like feedback sessions. But most of the work we will have to do it outside class. So you definitely have to come prepared in terms of like in terms of your concepts, your products, your like what we're doing for the projects. Yeah. So that is mostly what we'll be working on within the semester and outside of school. But during the lessons is more of like getting the feedback. Yeah.
And also to the question whether the projects are collaborative and individual, both, right? Actually, when you go to design jobs, actually a lot of design work is done in a team. So nurturing our students as a good team member is our one goal, but at the same time, nurturing the individual strength and the individual responsibility is also another important education goal. So Sarah mentioned that the students will take two modules per semester, right? But for year 2 or year 3, uh, usually the second semester, you will need to take one individual. So the second semester of year 2 and perhaps year 3, the students are, the curriculum is designed in a way that students will take one group project and one individual project so that they can have both group experience but also individual end-to-end responsibility.
Yeah, I hope that answers your question. Sorry, JJ, you wanted to add on something?
No. Yeah.
Okay. Yeah. I hope that answers your question, Yulia. And yeah, for the rest of the students, feel free to use the chat, okay, to leave in any of the questions that you may have for JJ and Sarah. So I guess as a follow-up question to that, maybe we could have JJ or Sarah briefly talk about perhaps some of the things that we learned in DID that would prepare us to be a design researcher, service designer. Yeah.
Okay. So it is Sarah said, our education is very hands-on and the real-world collaboration and the project-based. But for your year 1, our aim is to equip students with a fundamental hands-on skill and some aesthetic sensitivity and also a basic research skill. So students will be taking the modules like design thinking and human-centered design for them to really learn about design research methods. Mostly how to understand the problems or how to understand the users, meaning those people who are going to use what you are going to design when it's out there. So how to bring the understanding of the users in the design process. So in the year 1, through design thinking and human-centered design module, students will learn like interviews, or questionnaire, and observation, or even more design-only methods like prompts, generative sessions, all those like fundamental research skills, user research skills. And when they start to work on their design platforms from year 2 and so on, then it's really their chance to exercise those research skills in a real like industry collaboration project. So through those processes, students may really hone and sharpen their research skills and their capacity of applying those methods for the project.
Yeah, Sarah, do you have any, I don't know, examples or any past projects perhaps that you could talk about that maybe taught you one really I don't know, lesson that stuck with you until year 4 today?
Okay, yeah, I can maybe share more about some of from my own experiences. So so in year 1 we have fundamentals. So maybe I'll talk more in the context of service experience design. Yeah, so if any of you wanted to know more about for instance, like to clarify what is service design, business design, also please feel free to ask as well. Yeah, so in year 1 actually we have the fundamentals in, for instance, like human-centered design, like what is design thinking, like design approaches, and like what is even like experience design, how can we design like for like experiences services. So that is kind of like it'll be within a module in year 1 as well. So that is where we have our foundational understanding and kind of like our concepts. Then for the platforms like in year 2 onwards, that's where we'll kind of like use our learnings from our foundations to actually like work on real life applications of our projects, with like clients and also in like real life settings. Yeah. So for instance, I think in our the projects that we have like for the platforms is very broad. So there's really a huge range of projects. So in service design projects, for instance, we actually have a range of, for instance, like collaborators from like non-profit organizations where we design like services like experiences. And also we also have like global brands and NMCs like Samsung, Singapore Airlines. So those are the larger like clients. So actually we get to work on a lot of different kind of like stakeholders and also learn about stakeholder management, like using how we can use design to design for the stakeholders. And it's very different in the context as well. So for instance, one of the projects I worked with previously was with Meta, which is this social organization, which was for the more of like the kind of like the more socially people with more social needs. Yeah. So we actually had to help to kind of like use service design, experience design to utilize how to with their current because they have the kind of like people with social needs, they're actually creating products to sell to actually raise funds. So we actually collaborated with them to kind of like create a new service and experience for them. Like how can we use those using design to actually come up with a new method and new product service for them. So that was quite interesting because we had to work in the context of like the social organization and so learning like there's limitations in budget and kind of like the capabilities that they can do versus if for instance another project where I work with Johnson Controls, where they are a client with very huge budget and technology. So that is a very different approach to it, where we're working more in a business setting, then one is more in a social organization setting. So I would say within our projects, we do get to work on a lot of design. We utilize design thinking as the core of our project. So for instance, the design processes where we ideate, we also come up with like problem context, like defining the project briefs and also really like prototyping and ideating for the solutions as well and getting feedback from the client. So it's within the 11 to 14 week project, it's definitely quite it's quite a consolidated experience as well because we get to really have a very hands-on approach where we work directly with the clients and we also really for instance, user testing, we go down and test with the users. So it's very I would say like one thing that is very great about working with clients is how the project is very real because we actually get to see the outcomes of the project. And sometimes in client projects, they actually get to implement our solution, and that's where you can actually see your solution being implemented. So in the past, I think we had one collaborator that was Shiseido. So they actually had we had to design for a pop-up experience. So for instance, when the client Shiseido actually picked they picked the winning team. The winning team actually got their pop-up experience booth implemented in the Shiseido stores and retail experience. So it's very satisfying to really see your work being kind of like being implemented. And I think that's the very nice part about in industrial design where we actually get to work on real life projects and also implementation as well. Yeah.
Thanks for sharing that, Sarah. Maybe just to address one last question in the chat before we get Gigi to show us around, is maybe just a quick one about Truman's question about whether the students use the lab. I assume maybe you mean the studio and the workshops. Do they use that for personal projects? Sarah, do you know?
Yeah, so we actually have different facilities. Like we have our 3D, like for instance, like the prototyping workshop where we actually have the 3D printers, and we also have the workshop where it's more of like the workshop for you to like for instance like wood crafting and also more of the mechanics workshop. And we also have our studio, which is the main place where our lessons take place. Yeah. So the studio is actually open for us to like when we don't have school, we can actually go back and do work at the studio. So it's actually a very collaborative environment because we always bounce ideas at the studio. It's very like family like. So even on days where we don't have school, even on weekends sometimes, like our batch, our friends, we actually go back to the studio to do work together and discuss ideas. So in a way, it's a very open environment and we get to use the different facilities. Yeah.
Yes. So I guess Truman, short answer is yes. The facilities are there
Yeah.
for you to make use of.
Yeah, definitely.
Okay. Gigi, did you want to add anything before perhaps you can bring us on a virtual tour on your laptop?
No, not really. I think Sarah well addressed. Yes, we do have various facilities to cater the students' needs, like prototyping lab, photography studio, mood, and different workshops. Just students to use this for their the course project and also final thesis project. Yes, that's awesome, right? Okay, so for those who joined a bit later, a bit late, maybe I want to explain where I am sitting. This is actually the actual building of our industrial design building, the SDE4 building. And today we actually have this the campus open day in person. So we've been setting up those the exhibition booths, and we have students and some faculty members who are interacting with the visitors and our prospective students. So because it's getting noisier, so I'm going to have a quick tour of here, and then I will move it to the quieter place. I hope I can handle this well. So this is yes, our exhibition booth, and those who are wearing that shirt, that's our star student. Yeah, and you can, so there is some like instruction design exhibition going on. And so that's the booth. Okay. Okay, yeah, I have this assistant to follow me. Okay, and these are our two faculty members. Hello, Clement. Hello, Hans. The Zoom. Yes. So they are our faculty members, Clement, Hans. Thank you. Okay, so we set up this exhibition booth by design areas. So there is a booth for craft and material exploration, and there is also another table for creative interaction design using the interactive technology. And there is also booth for product design, especially for disabled people and people with special needs. The students, those visitors can really get to see how what kind of design project our students are working on and what is the level of outcomes and fidelity and so on. And there are also these that showcase our students' projects and some books that explain our curriculum structure and so on. So we've been having actually many visitors from the morning. Thank you. So this is some of the design work, the material exploration, and these are some of our finer thesis projects and another product design examples. And most of the examples here are actually like product design and instruction design because they are more for like physical exhibition. But if you visit our website, you can see more diverse examples and projects. And these are, so those examples are also product design, designing for future healthcare. And as you can see, we are using a lot of these 3D printing technologies for prototyping their students' ideas. So it's a really quick look. And this is our building. This is our SB4 building. So this is basically where our students spend a lot of time for their group work and the lessons and projects. I will just have a quick pick on, and this is the architecture booth. Yes. Okay, I will now. So do you have any questions regarding the exhibition?
Students, any questions? Maybe is there something that you want JJ to specifically show you at the booth?
It's not. So I'm now.
Oh no. Sarah, is JJ frozen on your side too?
I-
Oh, okay, she's back.
Oh. Okay. Okay. So I can expose my face, take off my mask. Okay, so I hope it didn't really create a motion sickness or something, but yeah, I hope it kind of gave you a quite quick pick of what's going on in this open day in our division.
Yeah, actually, maybe at this point, I can just quickly share. I think for those who are part of our Telegram group chat, I believe Dawn had just posted a little poll in the Telegram group chat. If you've not yet joined us, I just sent in the link to join our Telegram group chat, and Dawn had posted a kind of poll on for those who have missed today's open house because maybe there weren't enough tickets or you couldn't make it. We are, I think that they're trying to consider potentially having just a separate event for a small group in the upcoming week. So if you are still interested, you can fill in that poll in the Telegram group, and we can see whether we can try to make something happen to meet a few more of you for those who couldn't make it today. Okay, so we have one question from Danik, who's interested in service design and thinking about specializing in it if he does get into DID. So his question is whether he needs to take up service design related projects every semester, or is it only for the final year?
I think like for the official, I think taking the final year, yeah, for the project is what officially counts. So we allow students to explore different like topical areas and domains in their year 2 and year 3. So regardless of the specialization, students can actually take different modules, and it's also good because we want to like educate our students to be a expert generalist, you know. So those who can be a time have some knowledge on other areas. So it's actually beneficial for students to really have experience on different design topics and design projects. Yes. So to answer your questions, the final year project will count. The students are encouraged to take other types of projects.
Yeah, and I guess just as a small add-on, because all the projects in between, you're kind of free to choose. So if you are really just purely interested in service design, you can kind of try to pick the platform projects that kind of fall under service design. But because you're free to choose, we also do encourage you to try out other types of design domains if you are interested. But I believe it doesn't affect eventually the specialization that you choose if you do choose to specialize. Sarah, you wanted to add on something?
Oh, okay, yeah. So yeah, I think it's great that you have, like, for instance, you're already keen on service design from the start, because I think usually, like, for us, like, we like to explore, so it's great that you already have a direction that you would like to kind of like specialize in. So it will help to bring like more clarity as well in like the projects that you pursue. So I would say, because in general, like, for instance, your end goal is to be a service designer, so you kind of already have the direction in towards like user experience design, user design, service design. So I think within the platform projects, it will be actually better to, because usually we use our platform projects to also build our portfolio for us to get like, for instance, get into the job careers that we want at the end, and also for our final year project in terms of like the portfolio. So in that way, it will be ideal for you to have, like, for instance, taking projects that are service design related, like, for instance, maybe not just specifically service design, but more maybe like experience design as well, maybe like user design, and so just kind of exposing yourself to different projects and different clients. So that will be helpful in terms of getting the portfolio and expertise in that area. So for the final year project, usually we have the final year project is a means for us to either explore our passion or interest in a particular topic that we are interested in, or it can also be, most of us also use it for instance, like what we want to showcase, because I guess for a final project is like our identity in a way, because it's really a project that we are completely like invested in it by ourselves for 1 year. So for instance, if you would like to do service design as a career, it would be great to have a service design project that it would kind of like use it as your portfolio to show for like future job applications. That would be very helpful as well. Yeah, but I would say it would be good to explore in general, to kind of like expose yourself to different design discipline, like not really design disciplines, but more of like design categories as well. So it will also bring in insights. So for instance, having projects in like user design, UI, UX will also have spillover effects and good influence in, like, for instance, your service design projects as well. Like how maybe in a service design project, you can also propose kind of like app or website, and that's where UI UX comes in, for instance. Yeah, so there's a lot of synergy between different design disciplines as well as the categories. Yeah.
Yeah, thanks for elaborating, Sarah. Yeah, so do we have any other questions from the students, Danik, Tongyun, and Truman?
Tongyun, do you have any question?
Hi, can I just say, because
Yes, of
Of
course.
course.
yeah, so I was like wondering, because for the final year project, we will choose, like, we will bid for a specialization that we are interested in, right? Okay. So like in that case, right, what, like, are there cases where, example, I bid for service design, and then while I'm planning for it, and then it kind of like starts shifting towards a different category in a way? Like, if that happens, do I have to like kind of shift it back to service design, or like there's ways to work around it?
You mean like once you choose to choose specialization of a certain topic, but whether you are allowed to change along the way?
Yeah, yeah.
I think it will be well, we didn't have such case yet for specialization, but in principle, we want to support like students' decisions and students' kind of future. And so it'll be quite case by case, so we will hear about the reason, and if the reason is very reasonable, and if the shift is actually more beneficial for the students, then we will be allowing the shifting. Yeah, so I would say it'll be case by case.
Okay. Thank you.
But after all, what is in principle is that our division and the faculty members, we will be supporting the way that will be the most beneficial for students' future. So that's why we will talk with students first and figure out, what specialization area would be the most relevant to the student, and help in the process of the decision making.
Okay, thank you.
Yeah, I guess on that note, perhaps it's also nice to touch on how, I guess, dynamics between the students and the tutors, because as JJ mentioned about case by case basis, I feel like it speaks a little bit to the dynamics between the students and the tutors, and how it's usually, especially when you have your own thesis supervisor, you tend to be able to talk back and forth more, and be able to have a closer level of advice and understanding between each other.
Maybe Sarah, do you want to cover this case? So maybe it'll be better to hear from the students' point of view.
So I think I would say it's not very, like, normally it won't be so rigid in a sense like, okay, my final project is a service design project, so I must only do service design, because I'll say in design it's quite, there's not really so like strict definitions on like our project is like which, because most of the time there's different areas where we can evolve our projects to. So for instance, like even in my project, I'm kind of doing like service design, but also there's like UI UX elements. There's also like user and experience design elements. So there's very like different elements of the design within one project. Yeah, so there's a lot of exploration in that sense. And in that case, like for instance, like in a service design project, like how like maybe you have a goal to do a service design kind of like project for your portfolio, like you want to build a service design portfolio, then you can have the direction of that, but you can also incorporate like different elements. Like maybe it can be something like the means of it, like the design means can be like a website or app, or like there's also different aspects of it within the whole service design. But maybe in the process it's more of showcasing like certain elements of service design, like the kind of like the customer experience, or like the process that you did the project with. Yep. So in that sense, having, I think maybe some background about how we do final year projects, right, is we don't really bid for like a project. Like it doesn't mean that one person does service design means you can't do service design projects, but it's more about we'll choose the prof that we'll like to work with. So each prof actually specializes in a more like specific design discipline. So for instance, JJ is more in service design area, then maybe another prof is more in maybe like technology. Yeah, so like for instance, if you have a direction that you want to go for, like if you like to do maybe like service design, then it'll be more natural to pick JJ, because she'll be able to guide you in like the service design expertise as well. Yeah, so normally what we do is like our projects will also evolve across the full year, because what you have in mind initially will kind of like change as you iterate, because design is all about like iteration, exploration. Yeah, so it's quite flexible in that sense. Like it's very exploratory, and kind of like overall it's just about like how your project will meet your goals. Like what kind of like goals that you want to achieve from your final year project. Like do I want to build like maybe like a service design portfolio is my main goal, or like those goals. So like having those definition of those goals will help. And in general, like I think that's more of like how like in general like how the projects are very flexible, and there's a lot of different synergy across the disciplines. Yeah.
Yeah, very good. I want to add, I would say the relationship between the tutors and the students are actually very close, and sometimes a bit like even like team members and the peers, right? Because many of our modules are conducted in a studio for the project, not really big classroom, like lecture kind of style. So there is actually quite tight and close interaction between the students and the faculty members. And because every project is different and every topic the students work is different, this one-on-one consultation is very, very important. So the faculty members really, so our pedagogy is really to listen to individual students' project problem. So the consultation, through the consultation. So we have quite many outside the classroom contact like sessions and contact hours. So outside the classroom, students come to us for like extra consultations, and we are willing to do that. So I think it's quite fluid and quite close. Yeah, Triman, you asked a question about the exhibition, right? So those what was exhibited in the exhibition is from first year to the final year project. So there are some like design fundamental, the crafting work there, and also the final year thesis project and design platforms. And when it comes to the design platform, what is interesting about our design platform, the studio, is the students from year 2, year 3, year 4, they can take the same project. And year 2, year 3, year 4, they form the team, so that as if the real design studio works, so that the junior students can learn from senior students, and senior students can have a chance to lead the team. So those the outcomes from the design platforms are actually the teamwork from year 2, year 3, year 4 students.
Yeah, I mean, maybe just as a small add-on, I think that this what we call them vertical studios lah. Because it goes across the different levels, and me being an alumni of DID also, I actually found that to be quite one of the more interesting ways that we conduct our projects and things like that, because it's not as common to have such vertical kind of arrangements in the project work that we do lah. Yeah, so being able to learn from each other of different seniority also really helps. Yeah.
Yes.
Okay. Any other questions from Danik, Tongyun, or Truman? Today's session is a lot cozier than the previous Q&As that we have. So if you have any questions that you want to ask directly, it's a good time to do that.
Okay, hello.
Hello.
Yeah, hi. Since because I heard Sarah shared about a portfolio, right? So for service design, how do we showcase a good service design portfolio? Because if, for example, in product design, you want to design an ergonomic hammer, it's very easy to show the aspects of the hammer that it's more ergonomic and how it's better than the rest. But for service design, because there are a lot of aspects to it, such as the journey maps, the user persona, sometimes the whole page can be just the journey map, and sometimes we're only focusing on one touch point, but without the other touch points, there are no context to the whole project. So it's really hard to showcase the important parts of the project that we're doing. So for example, in a teamwork, maybe each member takes one touch point, but I only took one touch point, like touch point 1, but I need the other touch points to tell a better story. But it could take up a whole page, and sometimes there are no time to really, or no page to really tell a good story. So what advice do you have to better showcase a service design portfolio?
Yeah, you sound like you have some background in design.
Oh yes, I mean NYP. I mean I just recently graduated. So in year 2, I took service design for a client outbound Singapore. I had really much fun lah. So that's why I'm really interested.
Awesome. Yeah, service design is not just about touch point, right? And service design is about the new user journey and the new experience, the user's experience of the entire journey. And it's true that maybe like if we think of like conventional portfolio, maybe service design, the visual outcome might not be too clear comparing to the product design or some like graphic design, but that user journey that can introduce the new service idea is definitely for service design portfolio. And the process, what kind of process and the user insights have been gained along the project, and the new user experience and new service blueprint that can introduce this entire service concept So those are kind of visual elements that can explain service design project in the portfolio. And nowadays, actually, there are a lot of web portfolio. Portfolio is more normal than kind of physical ones, right? So what I encourage our students to do is make a video. So the outcomes from my service and studios to communicate the services and concept. And as you said, user context, right? Video is the mean to really illustrate that complexity of the context and the sequence of user journey. So students make this 3-4 minute service concept video, and they include that video in their web portfolio. Yeah, and if they need to submit the physical one, there will be service concept explanation and new service journey and so on, and some scenario illustration, but there will be also the QR code that people can actually see the video.
Yeah, if you want to check out some examples of videos that our students have made, you can actually check out some of those videos on our website that I had posted earlier, as well as in the PDF document of the course info that you can download as well. It also links you to videos that you can kind of check out to see what maybe some things that the students have done with regards to service design communication.
You can also visit this website. So I showcase my students' work in the service design lab.net. So if you go to this website and click the project, then you can see some of the examples of our students' work for the service design studios with different clients.
Yeah, I think now maybe to your point about the PDF format of portfolios, right? I think nowadays, even with COVID and everything, right, everyone is kind of slowly moving towards media and video formats, and yeah, so that's kind of also I guess quite a common deliverable that we also do here at DID lah, to be able to communicate, your 11 to 13 weeks worth of work into a video piece that is compelling and yeah, able to talk about your project and your idea in a very succinct manner.
Yeah, so creating a good narrative is more and more required for designers. So designers are not only the person who makes the thing, but who can really talk about the thing, right? Especially in a big company, designers need to pitch their ideas to business owners and technology developers. So how to conceptualize and how to communicate their ideas that are understandable by others is very, very important. So that capacity is also one of our learning goals that we want to really, we want students to really practice on. So through the presentation and also video making, students learn how to really create a right narrative that can explain your idea and your project. So that's within a very short time, like 2-3 minutes. So our students are really like get to practice them for every project.
Yeah, I think storytelling is a very important skill in design, and I think like in the 3-minute videos also, it's about how to condense, like for instance, like 14 weeks of effort, and for instance, like all the processes you did, and storytell it in a succinct like 2 to 3 minute video. Yeah, I think that's one very important skill that we also learn across the years. Yeah.
Yeah, thanks for that question, Danik. Any last few questions with a bit of time that we have left? Well, maybe while we wait for any other last questions, perhaps I have one on hand. And I'm wondering whether for JJ and Sarah, do you think, or maybe could you describe certain kinds of personalities or traits that you think suit being a designer? Or yeah, what are some key behaviors or characteristics that you think is crucial in being a designer?
Hmm. Hmm. The two keywords, the first keywords are being inquisitive, being curious. And also another thing is care, like caring, you know. So designers are basically problem solvers nowadays. So we want to use our designerly way of thinking and design process to provide something meaningful and useful and beneficial for people. So we need to have that sharp and caring eye to identify what are the really problems that people are struggling with. So designers should have that mindset and the lens to identify those problems. So caring mind really helps our designers to catch that problem, and also curiosity, right? Curiosity. So those things that people might take for so granted, or those things that people might really have don't pay attention to, but designers being curious and inquisitive, they can really like try to understand that phenomenon and try to really go deeper to identify the root cause problems, which can be turned into a creative solutions. So curiosity and the caring mindset are the two keywords.
Yeah, I totally agree. And I think maybe like empathy as well. So like I think for as a designer, you have to really think of like from the shoes of like for instance the user you are designing for, the customer or the business. So having like different not just from the user experience, but also like kind of like thinking of different stakeholders. Like for instance, if you're working in a client project or design project for a collaborator, you need to understand like there's different like what each stakeholder would think, like their perspectives, like from a business point of view, from a user point of view. So I think that is more in a real life application context, like having empathy from the shoes of each different stakeholder you're designing for. Yeah, and also I guess attention to detail, because as designers we need to be very like we have to ask a lot of questions, and also we also have to spot a lot of like pinpoints, touch points, and opportunities for design. So having a lot of attention to detail in terms of like understanding like the different aspects. And also I think one important point is about kind of like always asking questions, like asking yourself why, like why is this like that, or like what is asking yourself why and how, and like what are like different areas that we can improve on. Those are something that we have to look for, like we have to really be really questionable about in terms of like those areas. So I think like having a lot of having a very curious mindset as well. Yeah.
Maybe one thing that I want to add is tenacity. Like
Awesome.
really like attitude to push, forward. Because design process, there are kind of a lot of uncertainties, right? Because it's not like really clear cut formula or the science. So there's always some level of uncertainty that we need to bear with, But a few students who cannot really deal with that uncertainty, like kind of, oh, maybe this is like my direction is not right. Maybe I need to find another topic, But there is no such a thing like a best topic, right? It's about tenacity and the really tenacity to really push it and carry on, So the tenacity and the somewhat resilience are also important mindsets for designers.
Yeah. And and also I think passion and belief, like you have to be very passionate about design, because I guess like definitely in design there's always there will be long hours, and there will be like quite challenging days, like because maybe in subjects like business, like you just have to study for exam, like there's a fixed like kind of like fixed like kind of like deliverable. But I guess in design it's really like you have to continuously work on something and so improve. So having passion for like something you believe in strongly, like in terms of maybe like a specific area of design you believe in, and following through with it is very important. Yeah.
That's right.
Yeah, thanks for that. I agree, and I'm also trying to reflect. Do I have those traits as a designer?
Me too.
Yeah. Okay, so I think doesn't seem to have any more questions from Danik, Tongyun, or Triman. So I think we can conclude today's Q&A session. Thank you so much, DJ and Sarah, for taking the time to join us today. And for the students, if you're still interested to talk to any more tutors, we do have, I think, 3 more Q&A sessions lined up, with the next one happening on Tuesday at 7 p.m. with Dr. Yen. So if you are interested, please join us then, and then we will be sending out all the links on our various social channels, Telegram group, newsletter, and all that. So yeah, thank you everyone for joining us today. Any last words, JJ and Sarah?
No, it'll be very great to see your names in our first year students list. Yes, it's fun. Like it's a problem solving in a fun and constructive way. Yeah, it's I'm happy that I chose this domain, this discipline. I was a science kid then. I chose the industrial design as my major. Then yeah, I think it's one of the good decisions that I made in my life. And thank you, Desiree, for excellent facilitation and excellent answers, Sarah. You were great.
Yeah, thank you so much for joining us today. Then we hope everyone has a good rest of the afternoon. Yeah, and hope to see you in our next Q&A sessions as well.
Yeah, and see you in August. Bye-bye. Thank you.
Bye-bye.
Have a
Thank
great
you,
day.
everyone.
Have a great week.